It's 7:01 p.m. on July 19th, 2021. We will call your Newark City Council meeting to order. Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Lang?
Present.
Mr. Marmy?
Present.
Mr. Rath?
Here.
Mr. Barker?
Here.
Mr. Blake?
Here.
Mr. Bub?
Here.
Mr. Pennell?
Here.
Ms. Hall? Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Labutus?
Here.
Okay, we have 9 present. You will join me in the invocation tonight, led by Mr. Labutus, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, will be led by Jeff Harris. Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, as we come to prayer this evening, we thank you for this day that you've given us and this time to come together to discuss the business of the city. As we pause this evening, I'd also ask a special blessing on our colleague, Dee Hall, as she continues to recover. I just ask that you be with her and bless the doctors and nurses helping her as well, that she would have a speedy recovery. Be with us this evening in our discussions, and help us to remember your plans for our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will move on to caucus. Does anyone have anything this evening?
Mr. President. Mr. Marmy, make the motion to excuse Ms. Hall. Second.
Okay, I have a motion to excuse Ms. Hall by Mr. Marmy, and a second by Mr. Blake. All those in favor can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion will pass 8-0. We have the minutes of the July 6th meeting. Those will be.
Hold on, point of order. Do we need to excuse the president? Okay. I just didn't know. There's no excuse for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's watching.
Move on to the minutes of the July 6th, 2021 meeting. Those will be received and filed. There are 0 appointments this evening. Reports of standing committees from Finance and Service without objection. Those will also be received and filed. Reports from city officials from City Auditor Stephen Johnson, operating report for a period ending June 30th, 2021, along with Brenda Cooper from the Tax Administrator's Office, income tax revenue reports for period ending June 30th, 2021. Next, we are going to move on to a proclamation this evening, a well-deserved proclamation. Mayor Hall, along with the administration, is going to do this on behalf of City Council and the administration for Mr. Everett McKee. So Everett, if you would come forward. Very well-deserved proclamation coming up.
Come on up here, Everett. All good stuff. Everett has diligently recorded these sessions for many years. We have a lot of electronics now, and this will free him up on Monday nights to do some things. So I would like to read a proclamation in honor of the thankfulness we have for you. Whereas Everett McKee is being recognized for his commitment and dedication of videotaping Newark City Council meetings for the past several years. He has volunteered countless hours of work, never asking for compensation, providing a great service to the citizens of Newark by making the work of Newark City Council readily available to view on the City of Newark website. Everett has wished the absolute best to have more time for his many community activities, including computer club and dancing. You stay very busy in this community, and it's great to see you out and around. Newark City Council and the citizens of Newark would like to say a sincere thank you for his years of service to our great city. Now therefore, I, Jeff Hall, Mayor of the great city of Newark, do hereby proclaim July 19th, 2021 as Everett McKee Day in Newark, Ohio, in recognition of his outstanding commitment to Newark. Thank you. Together in big things. If you could say a couple words if you'd like to, this is your opportunity. Because you're in the back quiet all the time, now we can have your words.
But yeah, I do intend to come back, as a, just a citizen.
Yeah.
But, since I've been doing this, I have found there's a lot of stuff in Newark. Before I did this, I didn't have a clue what was going on. So, yeah, it's been a great experience for me, and it'll be a long lasting experience too.
Well, thank you so much again, Everett. The citizens appreciate it because they were able to look into council without coming sometimes. So you did a great job. Thank you, Everett. Good.
Thanks again, Everett. Moving on to communications, there's one communication this evening from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. It's a new application for Ohio Springs Incorporated, doing business as Sheets at 815 North 21st Street in Newark. From there, we are going to move on to citizens' comments. If anyone has anything they would like to bring forth tonight, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Reminder, this is not at this time a question and answer session with Newark City Council. Ma'am, if you'd like to proceed forward.
Linda Bossholder, 224 Green Meadow Drive in Newark, Ohio. And I know this is not a question and answer period, but I would just looking for some clarification. On July the 6th, I received a email from Barbara from the community development. And basically, she was stating that the CDBG application would be open on July the 19th. And she said that it would be different this year, that the mayor is considering a plan to provide American Rescue dollars to people who have previously received this money. And that we should contact the mayor if we are interested in receiving those. And that the balance of the money would be going to, a large portion of the money would be going to infrastructure needs such as street rehabilitation, economic development via the Newark Development Partners, demolition and sidewalks. And then it says that means if you are a public service, please request American Rescue Plan funds. One of the things that I was interested in is how the CDBG funds are planned to be used. The application did come out today, and the information in the application said it would be about $60,000 available for economic development and some other needs. Last, from what I had read, I'm assuming that the balance of the money the city is going to be receiving will be going to these other issues. And that is allowable under, the guidelines. It's kind of loose guidelines. One of the concerns that I do have is two areas when this money was first initiated were for housing needs and services to people in poverty. As far as I can tell, some of the things that are what this money is going to be spent on are not going in those areas. The city of Newark does have a poverty rate. It's about 18%, which is a little higher than the state average. And about 76% of people who are at or below the poverty level are renting properties. Right now, it is very difficult for these people to find any affordable rent. Every week we see people at the outreach who may even have a voucher, they cannot find a place to rent. So one of my concerns is if this money is being used for these other purposes, is there any plans at all for the city to address the affordable housing concern in our community? Also, clarification is needed on how we should apply for the American Rescue Funds. It did say in the initial email, we should email the mayor. I did so, asking for what information is needed. So, Mr. Mayor, would you like me to hand you the application or mail it to you?
I'll discuss it when I have time to speak. I'll be
Okay,
happy to
thank
answer all
you.
these questions. That's okay, Mr. President.
Yes.
Yep, thank you, Linda.
Anyone else this evening? Mr. Cox, proceed forward.
I just wanted to say, Bill Cost, 1639 Krebs Court. I just wanted to say I spoke to Dee today. And she's doing a little better. She's a little stronger. She's anxious to get back. She's at Lincoln Memorial Hospital again. She'll be going back into rehab when she leaves there. She's getting a little more strength. And she sounds like she's feeling a little better. We hope to see her out and about soon. And I assured her that everyone here has only concern for her health and improvement. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for this first round of citizens' comments? Seeing none, there are no ordinances on the second reading this evening. There are also no ordinances on the first reading. Therefore, we will proceed to resolutions on the second reading. Janine, if you would go ahead and read 21-38.
Resolution number 21-38 by Mr. Marmy, Mr. Labutus, Mr. Rath, and Mr. Barker, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
Okay, we've heard the second reading on resolution 21-38.
Mr. President,
Mr. Marmy,
I make a motion to adopt resolution 21-38.
motion by Mr. Marmy,
Second.
second by Mr. Lang. Is there any questions or comments regarding resolution 21-38? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Marmy?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Fennell?
Yes.
Ms. Hall? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Labutus?
Yes.
A resolution 21-38 passes 8-0. Okay, from there, we're going to move on to resolutions on the first reading. Resolution 21-39. Janine, if you could please read that resolution.
Resolution number 21-39 expedite by Mr. Marmy and Mr. Barker, a resolution appropriating monies for the current expenses of the municipal corporation.
For the resolution on reading 21-39,
Mr. President,
Mr. Marmy,
I make a motion to waive the 2-day reading rule on resolution 21-39.
Second.
motion to waive the 2-day reading rule on the floor by Mr. Marmy, second by Mr. Barker. Janine, go ahead and call the roll on that.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Marmy?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Fennell?
Yes.
Ms. Hall? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Labutus?
Yes.
Okay, the motion to waive the 2-day reading rule passes 8-0.
Mr. President,
Mr. Marmy,
make a motion to adopt resolution 21-39.
Second.
a motion to adopt by Mr. Marmy, a second by Mr. Barker for resolution 21-39. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Marmy?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Fennell?
Yes.
Ms. Hall? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Labutus?
Yes.
That motion passes 8-0. That will conclude our legislation for this evening. We'll now proceed to the second round of citizens' comments. Again, please come to the podium, not a question and answer session with council. State your name and address for the record.
Rochelle Rowland Smith, 237 Violet Court. As we progress with summer and some building plans for various entertainment venues, I was hoping that the city would reconvene its research on sound control in preparation for some of the things that are going to be happening later on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Crawford, you can proceed forward.
Dana Crawford, 163 South Second Street. Well, it's been a minute since I've been in here, and I mean, since the last time I was here, the pews were gone, so that was pretty shocking when I came in. First, I want to say congratulations to Everett, because he does such a great job, and I've had so many awesome conversations with him, over the years of him doing this, and I think he's provided a very valuable public service, and I appreciate him being recognized for that. For Dee, I want to express my concern for her. I didn't know there was anything going on, so hopefully everything's okay, and sad to hear that she's been hospitalized, so that's pretty scary to hear about, and thought I hadn't seen her in the store for a while. Lastly, I want to come up here, I'm probably like a month and a half late on this whole issue, but I was watching from home the first meeting of June, kind of behind on some meetings, I'm trying to read all the minutes to get caught up again. But the meeting on June 6th, when obviously this was a big topic of that night. And that was when you had the street committee meeting and people come up with their concerns. And I understand, of course, when you hear a lot of negative viewpoints, it gets, uncomfortable or even inconvenient to listen to. Being in the service industry, you don't have the luxury to tell people, hey, I don't have people here to speak up on my behalf of my service, so I don't want to listen to you right now. So it's like, I get it, the whole think you've been like sidelined, like hit from with a curveball, that there was something organized without, any kind of, advanced knowledge. That's fair. However, I would say it's not fair to the citizens who came with their concerns to suddenly shut down a conversation because it wasn't a balanced, situation as one perceived. You have to take everything in as you get it. Like, once again, as in the service industry, we don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury to tell people, shut up, we don't want to hear you now, or this isn't convenient for me. We have to listen, especially in management. You have to listen to every complaint at the point in time. Of course, the customer is always right is a very popular tagline in the service industry, and it's right to a certain extent. Of course, you think to yourself, not everyone's right, but at the end of the day, you have to listen to what their concerns are to improve your business. Same thing with government. You have to listen to what the concerns of the people are to improve the business of government, if you will. So I guess in summary, all I have to say is when you're in public service, you have to take all of that in there. Take all of it, it all comes with the territory. And I'll just say one last thing on this before I go. The street issue isn't just something that comes up every election cycle. When you go out and you talk to people, whether you're running for office or not, one of the most popular topics to talk about is how terrible our streets are. I mean, it's a noticeable difference when you go from Keith to Newark in a lot of cases, or from any communities in Newark. And I think we would do better if we just actually sat and listened to each other, came together no matter our viewpoints, and actually tried to hash out the best possible outcome. So thank you, and I hope you all have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else this evening for citizens' comments? Ma'am?
My name is Susan Dawood, 154 Bolton Avenue. And this is my first meeting, so I hope this isn't redundant from what you've heard in the past. But my husband is a school bus driver, and he cannot get down Hudson Avenue with the rotaries. So if he can't get down there with the bus, a school bus, I wonder how the garbage trucks, the trucks going into Owens Corning, and especially fire trucks are getting down that street. So I know that it's in a transition stage and it's being watched, but I just thought I would make a comment to that effect so that you would know about that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Okay, seeing none, move on to miscellaneous. Is there anyone from the city administration that would like to speak this evening? Mr. Motter?
Good evening, everyone. Mark Motter, Community and Economic Development Director for the City of Newark. I just want to speak briefly to Linda's comments about the CDBG budget. I'm responsible for that. We put a lot of thought into that this year because of the effects of COVID it's had on our community and certainly the economy and the budget. But what we also realized is City of Newark is going to have a fair amount of money coming from the American Rescue Plan. And those can be sent over to nonprofits that we have always funded every year for many, many years, such as Licking County Coalition for Housing, Licking County Coalition for Care, the Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, and others. It's always been a very high priority for us, and we've devoted really a large portion of our budget to those nonprofit organizations, and we will continue to do so. Because again, the American Rescue Plan offers funds to go to those nonprofits as well. We are going to devote more of our funds to street rehabilitation. We all know that the city streets for Newark are in desperate need of repair and repaving. And part of our budget every year goes to help put the street curb ramps. Whenever a street is paved, it's mandated that those curb ramps be installed. And so we use our CDBG money to help pay for those improvements for wheelchair accessibility and so forth. So again, nonprofits are still a very high priority for us. The mayor, I think, is going to speak to it just a little bit more in his comments here shortly. But I do want you to know that we are still funding that, and it's a very high priority for us. And I want to inform council of that as well.
Thank you for the update, sir. Okay, anyone else from the city administration? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the law director.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, just ARP update, American Rescue Plan. The open comment period for the U.S. Treasury's interim final ruling, I was thinking about that, was last Friday. So what they will do now, they'll take those comments, try to reevaluate what I would just simply call fine print to it, and push it out to us. I expect that's going to take a couple weeks. It normally does. It's not going to have everything you can and can't do, but it will have a better guideline. Certainly, I am looking at everything we can look at through virtual meetings, webinars, a lot of things, but they're kind of waiting on this final ruling a little bit. We're compiling a kind of a suggested ideas for council to look at. They will have to appropriate the money. The money will take a few weeks to appropriate, as our normal process does. We're trying to give them some ideas of what they may or may not do with it. Again, it's in for the long haul. We have till the end of 24 to spend it. We also have, if it's kind of already a larger project in works, it can go till the end of 26, but it has to be committed before the end of 24. So there's a lot of time here. I got your email. We really wanted just everybody to put in their suggestion. I would suggest you can give your application to Mark back there, the director. Really, we're going to go through the same process, applying that way. But one idea is a thought that we could free up, and they kind of push this. You could free up a little CDBG money to do more curb ramps for wheelchair accessibility, and then use the ARP money to supplement that for the next couple of years. So we're trying to get creative, and people are doing that, different ways to kind of turn in that way. It'd be just like if you had a decline in budget money, this time you can use it to make up that difference, and that becomes general fund money. So, but we don't really have that because the property tax has gone up. But as we always do, the CDBG monies will be used for low to moderate income. And I mean, they have to be, and we'll keep doing it, but this might offer some more flexibility. So we're still piling information. We'll wait till the final report gets in. We'll be talking to council about some proposed uses for that money, and not forgetting any of the points you mentioned. Absolutely, because those are all thoughts we want to think about. But it's going to take some time, but all that gets registered. But thank you for your interest. I'll back.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lang.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess first, Mr. Cost, thanks for coming and providing the update on D. Obviously, all very concerned with everything going on with her, and we're praying for her recovery. Love to see her back at council hopefully soon. Mr. McKee, thank you for your many years of unpaid volunteer service to this council. It's been a pleasure having you here, and you hopefully still join us, even though we won't need your services. But I think it's a testament to your commitment to the community that you would volunteer to show up to all of our council meetings and listen to us clamor on, and make sure that the public has an opportunity to view everything we do and provide that transparency. So thank you. Really appreciate everything that you've done. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Marmy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I need to call a finance committee meeting. I also just want everybody to just say an extra prayer for Dee Hall. She's just a wonderful woman, and this has really set her back as far as she's wanting to be here. That's the biggest thing. And I just wish her a speedy recovery. So, Everett, thank you. You've done a fantastic job. You're always here, making sure that everything was filmed. Your attendance was impeccable. I think you worked your schedule around this, and it didn't go unnoticed. And greatly appreciative of all the service that you've done. I very much hope you're not going to be a stranger, and you do continue to come around, because we'd love to have you around here still. So thank you again. Couple things just real quickly. I just Linda, the American Rescue Plan, those funds, As long as they qualify, any suggestions, ideas, definitely bring those forward. One thing that the city can't do is we can't build housing. That's not what we're in the business for. But if there's ideas or anything that you have that it fits and conforms into the American Rescue Plan funds, then yes, by all means, it's going to be considered. We want to utilize those funds effectively and efficiently, but most importantly, we have to make sure that they qualify. And that's what the mayor was alluding to, and making sure we're doing it the right way. So I appreciate you coming, and any ideas that anyone has and your application and everything. Thank you. Daniel, I'd like to talk to you after the meeting, if at all possible. I'd really like to converse with about some of your comments with you personally. So I appreciate it. Susan, as far as I think that they work at times. There's still a lot of getting used to. I have heard that trucks with trailers are having some difficulty, and that was the first as far as the school buses. I wasn't aware of that. But the safety is first and foremost, and that's why we're kind of looking at it, is to improve safety on Hudson. So I know the administration is monitoring all that, taking in any kind of input. And so I appreciate you coming and telling everybody.
The width of
Ma'am,
the streets too tiny.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and with that, I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marmy. Mr. Rath.
Thank you. I'll call a service committee meeting for August. And Everett, just want to say thank you. Always appreciated having you here in our conversations. And certainly thinking of and praying for Dee for recovery within the past.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Bub. Again, Everett, thank you so much. I have to go take us back to March 17th of last year when I called you and said, Everett, I need to know how you upload our videos to YouTube because we're not going back in the building for a while. And Everett was right there and had all the documentation that I needed to get city council remote. So again, Everett, thank you for that. And not only that, but all your service here to the Newark and really to the citizens of Newark for what you do every 2 weeks. So just want to address a couple things. As far as Hudson Avenue, I'll just elaborate a little bit more on Mr. Marmy's comments. We are aware of the issues. Those are temporary. We're studying those. I know Director Rhodes has had many conversations with different business owners around there, but I too didn't know about the school bus issue. So we'll definitely make sure that's addressed. So thank you for bringing that forward. And I did want to make sure everyone was aware, you should all receive an email today that July 29th, we are having a little gathering to review all the work at Horns Hill Park. If you saw the update that we received, it is a hopping place with over 2,000 people online looking at it. And so we'll have an ATV there if people want to see the trails who haven't seen it before. Also then on August 9th at Hollander Pool, there will be a city employee celebration and cookout for our great employees here at the city. So I know both of those events are on my calendar. I'm looking forward to those. And maybe Director Rhodes will join me in climbing the new, he's not looking, the new installation at Hollander Pool that night. We'll see. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. I look forward to seeing that. Mr. Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Bub. Everett, I just want to share my congratulations and gratitude and thankfulness for the sort of the gavel to that you've been providing, kind of in York's version of C-SPAN. So, thank you for doing that, for being here, and from committee meetings to full council meetings. You provided a very needed service. I remember back in the days when there were debates about trying to get council on either, well, then it was television, Channel 19, and there were debates and things like that. And, when I first came on council, I think you were uploading them to one website that got converted over to YouTube. So, but your people don't realize that you're doing this through your own goodwill. So thank you very much for that service. So congratulations. I know that we're appreciative. We most definitely, I mean, I can most definitely tell that things are hopping back in the city, and my calendar is getting full and a lot of meetings are occurring. I'm excited to have a potential block watch getting started. We have a meeting coming up with 4th and 5th Street residents in Sergeant Blind to talk about the potential of getting a block watch going in that area. So that's very exciting. I want to give my thanks to Mr. Loomis and to Mr. Moorhead. Local traffic now is going through National Drive. So I know that Jim Gilbert down at Carmen's Pizza was very happy, and it's kind of fitting with this being restaurant week that we opened up National Drive a few days ago. So Carmen's Pizza had some drop in sales due to construction, but local traffic's going through there, and he's very happy. So order some pizza from Carmen's to thank for that. But thank you, Roger, for working on that to get that open as soon as possible and providing that suggestion. Just a real quick update. The neighborhood outreach position that I've talked about a few different times at council, we got 2 more financial commitments from Department of Job and Family Services, John Fisher, and then also Case Burgle. And so we're happy to be building a community coalition. And I think this position is really going to come off and to help some people, specifically dealing with substance abuse and mental health disorders that are living along the river. And so we're most definitely looking forward to getting that outreach position created and up and going so we can get some services to people in need. Events that are happening, this Saturday night, Mental Health America is having the Night of Hope over here at 31 West. And so those of you that want to support the Mental Health America and the efforts and the good things that they do, please feel free to come to that event. And then the main place down on South 3rd Street is having the Glenn Hopkins Memorial 5K. I walk that, I will admit. So you talked about the bike path earlier this evening. So I'm not a runner, but I walk. So, but that's happening Sunday morning. So feel free to do that. And with that, I'll yield, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've heard that again. I echo a lot of the sentiments that have been said here, but the service that you provided has been incredibly important for the transparency and I think the full functionality of the city council. So thank you so much for being that person that comes in and does that, provides that service for us. So thank you. It was very impactful. I would also like to wish D Hall a speedy recovery. And also to echo some of the sentiments about Hudson Avenue as well. That is a test. So thank you so much for bringing feedback to us. We definitely need that feedback so that we know what's going on. So with that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everett, I'd like to thank you for all your work you've done for City Council. I appreciate that. I'd like to wish the a fast recovery. A week ago Saturday, I had a couple classmates come in. One lives in Maryland, one lives in Indianapolis, and we've been friends since the 2nd grade. And one of them was Bryce Peterson's son, John, who used to be the service director, Bill Moore. And my other friend was Lance Bloomberg, which was Dr. Bloomberg's son here. And they haven't been to Newark for a long time. And so they came in and we had breakfast and they wanted to take a tour of Newark. And so we went up, took them up on Lawrence Hill Park, showed them the bike trails that they've made. And then we came downtown to see the square, and we went to Newark High School, because they haven't seen the high school since it's been enclosed, because it was an event. And they were really impressed with the city of Newark. They said, well, we wish they had this back when we were young. And so I took them over to the Canal Market, and they was really impressed with that. So, Newark's, it's a great place to live right now. A lot of good things going on. And it's good to know when people come back to town that they like what they see. So I'm also excited about paving has started, and it started in July, which is exciting. We've started a lot earlier, I think, this year, and we haven't. I thank Brian Moorhead for getting that done. And, you know, the fact that we're gonna spend almost $3 million in paving is really exciting. That's a big number. And last but not least, I'd like to wish my grandson a happy birthday today. He is 2 years old. And with that, I pass.
Well, thank you. And finally, Mr. Labutus.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everett, thank you for all of your service for all these years. Greatly appreciated. You always beat all of us here. You were the first person in and got set up. So appreciate that. And also, everyone could say an extra prayer for Dee, for these things. And especially what we do here at this moment. With that, I will pass.
Okay, thank you very much. I too would, again, like to thank you, Everett. You're a very positive person to be around. I really appreciate your service. And you donate a lot of your time. You didn't have to do it, but you did. So really, really appreciate it. A few things, just reminding everybody, it's Restaurant Week. Try to do all you can to support our local restaurants here in Newark. They're making an investment in our community. It's very important. I'd like to thank the Newark Elks Lodge, Stacy Swartz. Yesterday, they organized a bicycle run. I sponsored it, wasn't there, or I was not able to ride a bike during it, but I guess they had almost 150 bicycles out in the community, and it's quite a big fundraiser for different entities there within the city. And I believe that is it. July 19th will be our next meeting of Newark City Council.
That's today.
Oh, well, not the second, it's August 2nd, yeah. So August 2nd, committees will commence at 5:45. And Janine, wonderful job. I will give a very positive report to Mr. Ellington about your performance this evening. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Labutus. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.
What's the legal ramification of our excuse?
We're all getting nervous watching this thing.